and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a sports betting perspective, with pro handicappers Alex B. Smith and veteran sports writer Jimmy Murphy. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Wednesday, February 16th, Ian Cameron, Jimmy Murphy, and Andrew McInnis momentarily joining the show as well. We are ready for a Wednesday night NHL card, and it is a great card. 4 games, and not as big a card as last night, but 4 with the potential to be 4 games that are outstanding on paper when I look at them. We have some terrific matchups tonight. Minnesota, Winnipeg, 2 teams that really don't like each other. The bad blood has really increased, especially in the last meeting between those 2 teams. They are going at it head-to-head. We've got a pretty good Anaheim-Calgary game tonight that's intriguing. The Ducks are always a little bit of a tough out with that great young talent, Zegras, Terry, among others, against a Calgary Flames team that is absolutely on fire at the moment, playing as good a brand of hockey as any team in the NHL. And then you have a terrific TNT doubleheader tonight, Florida and Carolina. 2 of the best teams in the Eastern Conference and the NHL, 2 legit Stanley Cup contenders there going head-to-head. 2 legit Stanley Cup contenders going head-to-head in the second game on TNT tonight, Colorado and Vegas, 2 rivals, 2 teams with playoff history from last year. It's just an outstanding quartet of NHL matchups tonight for a Wednesday night, and we're looking forward to breaking those down. Before we get to today's card, we want to thank everybody that joined us on the BetCast, whether you just tuned in to the live stream on YouTube and watched the BetCast live as you were watching the NHL action unfold last night, even if you just joined us to tune in and watch the BetCast, we thank you. And of course, to those of you that joined us live during the stream on the BetCast, were with us on the show last night, Terry Edelman and the Earl brothers, Nick and Tim. And of course, we had Vito on for a while. We had John Massey joining us late in the BetCast as well. Cheshire Cat hopped on late with us. Jimmy Murphy popped in for a couple of minutes. It was a great turnout last night with the BetCast. We thank those of you for joining us. And I know I got a lot of messages from people following the BetCast last night saying, damn, Ian, I couldn't tune in, or I had work, I was sick, I was under the weather, all this about, you couldn't watch. Well, first of all, shame on you. How dare you miss out on the BetCast? I'm kidding. But more importantly, there are going to be more opportunities, many more, to join us on the BetCast moving forward. We will be having a live BetCast every Tuesday night for the rest of the regular season. We'll be back next Tuesday, February the 22nd, with the next BetCast, and looking forward to that as well. And we're going to be doing, not every Thursday will we have a BetCast, but the plan is for us to be doing a BetCast on selective Thursdays, not every Thursday, but a few Thursdays at least during the regular season moving forward as well. So we'll have some details and announcements to be made regarding that. Like I say, an absolutely outstanding BetCast last night. And outstanding not just in, look, it was great camaraderie, the conversation, the commentary, just hanging out, having a few beers. I mean, it's like I say, we're trying to bring that, sitting in a local bar, local tavern, local pub type of feel to the BetCast, an atmosphere, if you will, while we're watching the games on a Tuesday night. And that's definitely what we tried to bring in terms of the BetCast there. But what I also enjoyed about the BetCast was we did a pretty damn good job with many of our live bets. We didn't win them all, but we won ourselves a decent amount last night. Early in the BetCast, I pounced on a couple of very advantageous numbers and prices with a few in-game overs. The Tampa Bay, New Jersey game, that total, you'll remember, was 6.5, based on which book you looked at. Same thing with the total in the Philly-Pittsburgh game. Before the game, it was 6, heavily juiced to the over. There were even some books that had moved it to 6.5. And I jumped on the over 5.5 at a plus price in both of those games in the first period on last night's BetCast. And it's really just one of those examples of what you can do to take advantage of live betting. You can get better numbers, better prices, and oftentimes if you jump on those better numbers and better prices, you'll be better off for it. Washington, Nashville, another example. where late in the second period, I jumped on over 4.5 in that Capitals Predators game. And that was also a plus price. And I was actually still very much worried about that bet, considering it was 1-0 going into the third. But, as we often see, sometimes the floodgates open in the third. It happened in the game between Carolina and Minnesota on Saturday night. Even after that game only had one goal scored in the opening two periods. So you always have that opportunity, essentially, to have the goals, pile on and late in the game. And we kind of saw that last night in the Capitals Predators game. So that was another live betting victory there, jumping on that over 4.5 in that game late in the second period. We had some stuff in the late games that turned out well. The Kings were up 1-0 against the Oilers after the first period. I ended up jumping on the betcast last night with Edmonton -0.5 plus 160 second period puck line. And that came through for a winner last night as Edmonton evened up the game 1-1 in the second period with that late goal that was reviewed because they wondered if there was contact. Well, there was contact with Peterson, but it was the Kings player that knocked Puljujärvi into Peterson on that goal. So the Oilers' goal stood. And of course, they came on in the third period and won 5-2. So just a lot of examples there of good bets that people made. And let's give Terry Edelman and some people in our chat or that were on the stream last night, people in the chat. Apparently, when I was gone to get my latest refill of brew, which was early in the third period of that Bruins-Rangers game, and I missed out because, I'm pouring my beer at that time. I'm getting the next pint of beer going. So I didn't have a chance to get in on this, but apparently Terry and so many other people jumped on the New York Rangers at a plus price, trailing the Bruins 1-0 early in the third period. Next thing you know, they tie the game. Rangers have their best period of the game in the third period. Looked like a team that got their legs under them in the third period. First two periods, not so much for the team that coming off the 2-week layoff like the Rangers were, and they ended up coming back and winning that game. So the bottom line is, and that's just, I'm probably missing a couple, but I'm just giving you like 4 or 5 examples right there, just in the last couple minutes of what you can take advantage of and the bets you can make, positive expectation bets. And these are available to you every single night with live wagering in the NHL. And I'm glad that the betcast last night pointed out so many of those great, tantalizing, again, positive expectation opportunities that you can take advantage of with live betting in the National Hockey League. It was a great betcast, and we're looking forward to doing them every Tuesday night for the rest of the regular season. Another great fun night. We stuck it out right till the end, and thanks to everyone who were on the air right till after 1 a.m. Eastern time when the Oilers-Kings game ended. But we made it right till the end of that game, and it was a hell of a lot of fun, that's for sure. We have Andrew McInnis with us now on the Wednesday show. Andrew was so disappointed he couldn't join us last night on the betcast, but, personal things come up. It's the way it is, but I told him, don't worry, we got a bunch of them still to come on Tuesday nights moving forward. Andrew, welcome in.
Yeah, my apologies, guys, but I was able to tune in for a little bit and saw you guys were having a great time. So I truthfully do enjoy them, and I'm going to be hosting my own next Thursday. So I look forward to that, and I'm going to try and bring on all kinds of different people, and including the people, of course, that usually come on. But I'll be advertising on my Twitter quite a bit, and we'll try and attract even a different audience. And the more people, the better. So look forward to building it. I'm happy you guys had some more success. I wanted to shout out that Sid the Kid goal, man. 500. I read a story today about how he was flying his parents around, and they were pretty much everywhere he was for the last couple games, living out of their suitcases, pretty much wanting to be there for him to get number 500. It happens at home against one of their rival teams. So what a game. And for people that follow me on Twitter, Ian, I'm not sure if you saw this. I actually gave away a jersey last night. I had a bet and a few parlays that involved the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I said, you know what? I'm going to get some good karma on my side here. I tweeted out, if you like and retweet this tweet and Tampa Bay comes back, I'm giving away a jersey. So one lucky winner went home or is going to get a brand new Stamkos jersey right from NHL.com just after just following me and liking the tweet. So it turned out to be a pretty eventful night. I was happy to get Edmonton as my last winner. I went 4-2 last night. The overs didn't do well for me, though. I lost with the Capitals over, and I did lose with that Colorado over. So, yeah, shout out, Cheshire Cat with Toffoli scoring. Happy for him. Happy for him. A great goal there from him. But overall, pretty good night in the NHL. And again, my apologies to Ian more than anybody for not being on the show yesterday. As I really do want to have a commitment to being on all of these, and I've talked to Ian about being on all of them. So I do apologize, Ian, for not being on there yesterday.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all good. It was still, it's full. It was a full house. It was, we had consistently 5, 6, 7 people on the betcast last night. Jimmy jumped in for about 30 minutes late in the night as well, which was good. And by the way, condolences to Jimmy, not for something serious, but condolences for his best bet
For the
last
under.
night. Oilers and Kings under 6.5. That's
Yeah.
horrible. I mean,
Yeah.
I stand by that. That's absolutely awful. And we were seeing that unfold. Two empty net goals for the Edmonton Oilers from 3-2 to 5-2 and put it over the total. But,
actually, Ian, real quick, I got to tell you, I was on the air with Morency during that. Oh my God, man. He had under 6.5 and he snapped. We were on the air and they pulled the goalie. He's like, okay, yeah, that's one empty net goal. Sure, it's okay. They'll put him back in. And then we're both on the air together like, oh my God, they left him out. They left him on the bench. They left him on the bench. We could not believe that they were going to actually score. And of course, who else scores that second empty but Evander Kane? He's going to get his stats up. And the funny thing is, I actually had a buddy of mine that was on Kane to score a goal last night. So I'm on the air with Morency. He's pissed about that goal. I got my buddy texting me, let's go, Kane scored. And it just goes to show that, whether you're a recreational bettor or full-time bettor, how serious you take it, it definitely adds some excitement to the game. And last night really proved that.
Yep. And Alex, by the way, Alex B. Smith, he's in our chat. He'll be back on the show tomorrow. Now, we've seen Alex under the weather. We've seen Alex, he's had sicknesses, he's had flus, he's had food poisoning. He's obviously had to deal with, some tough circumstances. He's lost, his father. A friend of his passed away. Friend of Brian Blessing recently as well. I mean, it's been, family issues. It's been sicknesses. This is a laptop issue right now with Alex B. Smith. Something totally different. Not as serious, but still very frustrating. And, it's just frustrating and ill-timed whenever a laptop basically conks out on you. And that's what's happened with Alex. So he's getting his laptop fixed the last couple of days. He'll be back with us tomorrow on the Thursday edition of the show. All right. I mentioned it off the top. This is only a 4-game card. This might be one of the better quartets of games you'll see on one night in the NHL in terms of 4 games, and even maybe the weakest game of the night, which I guess you'd say is Anaheim Calgary. It's still a very intriguing game because the Ducks have that young talent on the rise, on the come, if you will, with Zegras and Terry and Drysdale on the blue line and a red hot Calgary team. And then it goes without saying how great on paper the other 3 games are.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to breaking these down, and we'll start right now with the Minnesota Wild and the Winnipeg Jets. We've got Minnesota -130, -135, road favorites, 6 the total in this game. Rematch of just a recent meeting with these two teams. Of course, the Wild and the Jets played each other last week, right after the All-Star break. 2-0 win for the Winnipeg Jets in that game. A shutout, a very impressive shutout against the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota has since bounced back to win their last 2 games. Carolina 3-2, Detroit 7-4 on Monday night. And we'll see if they can avenge that loss to the Jets from last week. Winnipeg, just a very inconsistent team. I mean, it's what we've seen from them now for the better part of the last couple weeks. Some very nice wins, beating St. Louis on the road 4-1, but then they lose to the lowly Flyers 3-1 after that. They bounced back and they upset Minnesota with an impressive shutout. Shutting out the Minnesota Wild is very difficult. And the Jets managed to do that 8 days ago in that 2-0 win. And then after that, they lose in overtime to Dallas by a score of 4-3. They bounce back on the very next night in a very tough spot. Second of back-to-back games on the road in Nashville, and they beat Nashville 5-2. So they bounced back after that. And then the last game against Chicago, look, Marc-Andre Fleury was good. It's not like the Jets played a horrible game against Chicago, but another very good effort in net from Fleury. and they couldn't capitalize on their chances. And Chicago only with 23 shots, but they did do a better job finishing, and they upset the Jets 3-1 in their last game. So it's just been all over the place from Minnesota, from the Winnipeg Jets, rather. And Winnipeg, the good news for them is they're closing in on getting Nikolai Ehlers back. We know he's been out for a long period of time, but they're hoping to have him back soon. It's not going to be tonight, but closing in on him being back. What a night it was for Matt Boldy for the Minnesota Wild in the last game for him. His first career NHL hat trick, 3 goals. 2 of them came on the power play in that 7-4 win against Detroit. It was just magnificent, and he's certainly showing that he's going to be every bit the player that's going to help this Minnesota team for a long time to come score goals and be one of the better offensive teams in the NHL. All of a sudden you've got his, skill and talent and finishing ability to worry about, along with Fiala and Hartman and Kaprizov and Joel Eriksson, who's been had a nice season offensively as well for the Minnesota Wild. So there's a lot to contend with here right now for the Wild. Right now, we've seen the Jets, Connor, Scheifele, Dubois, and even Blake Wheeler. This is a guy that we have been really worried about. Where has the offense gone for Blake Wheeler? But, slowly but surely, it's starting to come back around here. He had a massive 5-point night, 2 goals and 3 assists against Nashville the other night. It was a little bit quieter against Chicago, but, that's key for Winnipeg moving forward. Get Blake Wheeler, the captain, to rediscover some offense and some ability to finish around the net, and that's going to make Winnipeg even more difficult to stop. This is an interesting game because it's certainly the Jets off a loss. You'd expect them to fire back strong, but Minnesota losing to Winnipeg and shut out the last time they played them 2-0, and you would think that they have a good chance to bounce back here. I just don't trust Winnipeg, and with Minnesota losing the last meeting, I would lean Wild here, minus 135. Kind of lean over the total here. Again, one of those situations where they played 2-0. The last meeting between these two teams, maybe a little bit of a different story to unfold here in this time around. And kind of, too, when you look at Winnipeg, we've seen under, over, under, but it seems like when they have a low-scoring game, the next game does kind of go the other way, and you get a few more goals, a few more opportunities. One thing that does concern me here a little bit for Minnesota tonight is their penalty kill has suddenly given up a goal in 4 of their last 5 games, and the Jets now have scored a multitude of power play goals. Their last 6 games, they've scored 5 times with the man advantage. So the Minnesota penalty kill has been a little bit leaky here lately. So I think the Jets get on the board, and I certainly think Minnesota, after getting shut out by Winnipeg last week, they get their offense going. So it would be the Wild from a side perspective and over from a totals perspective for me in this game. Andrew, your thoughts here, Minnesota, Winnipeg?
Well, the movement's been really interesting in this game. Obviously, looking at the overnight number, Minnesota were way bigger favorites. I'm a big believer in the fact that I think that Minnesota will not forget what happened the last time they met. Winnipeg's way too inconsistent for me, and I know the All-Star break just ended, but it's going to be around that time of the season where we're getting to midpoint of February, or we are in the midpoint of February, where we try and decide which teams are the fade and which teams are the buy. And I think that in this matchup, we have to all recognize we're getting a short price on Minnesota. I can't not play Minnesota here. At minus 150, maybe it's a little bit of a thought process. At minus 135, you can sign me up for the Wild. I just don't think Winnipeg has the capability to trade goals with this Wild team. If we even see subpar goaltending tonight from the Minnesota Wild, I feel like they get 3 or 4 goals. They get the win tonight. Give me the Wild.
All right, Andrew, liking the Wild here in this one, minus 130, minus 135 at our good friends at DraftKings have it at minus 135 right now on the Minnesota Wild. And yeah, I mean, when you look at certainly very, very much eager to make amends. Certainly a certain Jordan Greenway, the one quote was, that he's very eager to play Winnipeg again. And I'd like very rough too. You could tell the animosity level is starting to rise a little bit. I know both sides were a little bit not too thrilled with the other side taking a few liberties with some of their players in that game last week, but we're getting a little bit of a hatred building with the Minnesota Wild and the Winnipeg Jets, and that is definitely
just a little
good thing. It's a good thing for hockey. It's a good thing for, when you see teams that are the bad blood starting to develop here between these two. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes tonight. And that is a good point, too, by Terry Edelman as well, mentioning that Marcus Foligno will be back tonight for the Minnesota Wild. And when you talk about Foligno, he's not just a guy anymore that can fight and play the physical game and do the things away from the puck. He's having his best offensive season by far as well for the Minnesota Wild, and someone that, believe it or not, you've got to pay attention to when he's on the ice, because he is definitely having a breakout offensive season beyond the shadow of a doubt. He's been terrific in that regard. 17 goals, 10 assists. He's already beaten his career high in goals, shattered it already, and we're only 40 games into the year right now. 27 points. He's already hit a career high in that regard. So he's already career highs in goals and points, and we're barely halfway through the regular season. So
I saw Philip Deneau did the same thing last night.
Yeah.
He beat his career high in goals in February 16th. Wow.
There, he's found his offense again. Of course, he scored last night one of the goals for the LA Kings, and
that's what I mean. He broke his record.
Yep. Yeah, and we know there's offensive capabilities there with Philip Deneau. It's just last year it was a tough time. The puck just wasn't going in for him. But it doesn't take away from the good player he was on the other side of the ice, defensively, one of the better defensive forwards. And that's what Foligno does too. Terrific defensive forward. And now he's chipping in offensively. 17-10 for 27 this year in points in just 40 games for Marcus Foligno, giving the Wild definitely added scoring depth. Something, again, this year they have it in droves, and it's something they necessarily haven't had in past years. All right, Florida Panthers, Carolina Hurricanes. We've got even money both sides, 6.5 the total in this game. We certainly mentioned all these games on the BetCast last night, and whether it was Nick Earl or people in the chat, we were all talking about how Carolina first period might be worth a bet here. Same thing with what we have seen repeatedly with all these. Now, the LA Kings are the one team that broke that streak last night against Edmonton. They actually had the lead after the first period. They're the one team that after the long layoff actually did have the lead. So that's the first time, I think, the first period betting against the team on the long coming off the layoff lost was with Edmonton last night if you took them first period against LA. But still, there's a long layoff for Florida. They haven't played in a couple weeks. You got Carolina. Obviously, coming off a loss as well. That's another. Well, Florida is too, but their loss was way before the All-Star break. They lost to the New York Rangers. But the Carolina Hurricanes are also off a loss in their last game, 3-2 to Minnesota. And for Carolina, they've had 3 days off. That's the perfect amount of time off. They get some practice time in. They return home here to face the Florida Panthers. So you can definitely see why this is a pretty solid situation for Carolina in terms of the situational element of this game. It probably does favor Carolina. Florida with not just a time off, but more than 2 weeks, because February 1st was the last time they played a game. And we'll see how they fare here. We've seen for the most part teams really struggle in these return to action from the layoff. So we'll see if that carries over here to this game. It's been a very competitive series, these two teams this year. Obviously, it's impressive to see what they can do at both ends of the ice, especially offensively. We see that both teams can get contributions from multiple lines. When you look at Florida, Verhaeghe, Barkov, and Duclair have been terrific on the top line. Bennett centering Tippett and Huberdeau. And now all of a sudden you've got Sam Reinhart. Mason Marchment came on extremely strong prior to the All-Star break, and Anton Lundell on the third line for Florida. So that's legitimately 3 lines that can score. And the same thing goes for Carolina with Teravainen, Aho, and Marty Necas top line. Svechnikov, Trocheck, Jarvis, your second line. Niederreiter, Stahl, and Jesper Fast on the third line. When you got a Nino Niederreiter playing on your third line, that tells you how much depth you have as well. If you're the Carolina Hurricanes, what's good for them too is their blue line, which is nicked up a little bit earlier in the year, has got pretty much all hands on deck and everybody back. The only exception is Jake Gardner, but they've got depth back there. They've got Brendan Smith, who has been a long-time, serviceable, sturdy defenseman, particularly shut-down defenseman in his own zone. They don't even have him, dressed on a lot of nights. He's the seventh
Yeah.
defenseman
Yeah.
on this Carolina team. That's a guy that's played a lot of hockey, very experienced, very solid in his own end, and he can't even crack the Carolina blue line because now everybody, for the most part, is healthy. Slavin, D'Angelo is, by the way, turned things around. He's playing terrific. He's chipping in offensively from the blue line. He's scoring some goals even for Carolina. He's got his head on straight. No shenanigans, no bad behavior or being an immature child. None of that anymore from D'Angelo. He's got the right headspace right now. He's focusing on playing hockey, and he's thriving right now in Carolina, playing with Slavin on that top pair, Brady Shea, Brett Pesce, great second pair, Ian Cole, veteran defenseman, along with Ethan Bear on the third pair. It's a great blue line for Carolina, and I think they've got the situational edge, and they're at home too, off a loss, and we know the home ice for Carolina has been strong. 16-5 on home ice this year. Whereas Florida, we keep mentioning it with them, as great as they've been, they are only 9-12. 9-12 on the road this year. They actually have a losing record, the Florida Panthers, on the road. 9-12 on the road compared to 23-3 at home for the Florida Panthers. So I agree. I think it would be a Carolina first period and full game money line split for me in this game. Split it up between the two. And I like over the total. Again, talk about a team off a layoff, sloppy play. I'd expect that tonight from the Florida Panthers. And we've seen over series history with these two teams as well recently. Florida had gone over the total 5 of 6 games prior to the break. You look at head-to-head, the previous 2 meetings this year, 5-2 Florida, 4-3 Florida. And before that last year, we saw 4-3 as well. So the last 3 meetings, 7 goals scored in them. So I think we go over 6.5 here in this game as well. Andrew, Panthers, Hurricanes.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned off the top, Ian. I mean, as far as these 4 games, great games to discuss rivalries a little bit, just some good head-to-head matchups. I got to start with this. I haven't bet this game, not even a small play, no big. I'll say that. If I was betting this one, my money would be on Carolina, not just because of the rest and because of the layoff and all that, but mostly just I just like taking the better defensive team, and that's what I can rely on with Carolina. It's why I took them to win the cup at 14-1, and I think that they're better than Florida at taking care of the puck and taking care and protecting their own end of the ice. So at these odds, I'd go with Carolina, but I have not bet one thing on this game quite yet.
All right, there we go. That should be a good one here coming up tonight with Florida. That's the first of the 2 games on TNT, and this is definitely TNT's best night, for doubleheader all season long.
Yeah.
They can't ask for a better doubleheader than this with this game and, of course, Vegas, Colorado, which we will be talking about momentarily as well. Great night of hockey for the Turner Sports crew, and looking forward to it for sure. All right, we got the Anaheim Ducks now taking on the Calgary Flames next up. We've got Calgary. Again, you're not getting bargains anymore with Calgary, especially at home. -215, home favorites, total 5.5 here in this game. I'm on over here as well, 5.5. I mean, it's 5.5 with a team that's lighting up the scoreboard, and I wouldn't talk anyone out of a Calgary team total. Over 3.5 at a plus price again. They're scoring in bunches right now. Everybody's feeling it. Whether it's Johnny Gaudreau, you got Branson scoring from the blue line of all people lately as well. How crazy is that? We've seen Branson score in multiple games on the Calgary blue line. I mean, they've been really, really strong, this Calgary team. They've been getting offense from a variety of different sources, and it's been great to see a 6-2 victory last night over Columbus. And I mentioned this during the betcast, Lindholm's been good. Dylan Dubé, like I say, they get depth scoring. Tyler Toffoli just makes this an even more potent offensive team. He scores in his very first game with the Calgary Flames last night. They even get the youngster Adam Ruzicka stepping up and scoring a goal for them in the victory last night. So, it's been very good to see this from the Calgary Flames since the All-Star break. And I mentioned this. I mean, 4-0, and they've scored 5 goals or more in every game since the All-Star break. A grand total of 22 goals for this Calgary team in 4 games combined since the All-Star break. So you do the average on that, and you're talking about a team that's averaging, 5.5 to 6 goals per game just about during this stretch. So, obviously you're playing an Anaheim team that's going to want to tighten things up. Yeah, and they didn't tighten things up against Seattle, but again, they were on the long layoff going into that game, extended time off when they lost to Seattle on Friday, 4-1, 4-3, I should say. They lost to Seattle. They've now been off for 3 days prior to this game, so a little bit of rest for Anaheim going into this one. Anaheim, though, when you look at their team, they are a team that now with a little bit more firepower than we've seen, obviously, in years past. And when you look at before the All-Star break, we saw Anaheim score 5, 5, 3, 5. Were held down by Ottawa 2-1, held down in a low-scoring game by Detroit, but scored 3 against Seattle. They've actually been solid offensively of late themselves. They're still battling, of course, a couple blue line injuries going into this game tonight, which are something you want to monitor. But when you look at this Anaheim team, certainly with what you've seen, their power play hasn't been bad. 3 power play goals for them in the last 4 games and 5 power play goals for them in the last 7 games. So the power play is, chipped in a little bit for the Anaheim Ducks. It's really been for Calgary. Their power play has been not all that great. All their goals have been 5-on-5. That's the scary part. Most of the offensive production for the Calgary Flames since the All-Star break, it's been 5-on-5. It hasn't necessarily been with the man advantage. So It's been impressive to see. As far as series history, we've got 3 of the last 4 games having gone over this total, 6-0, 6-4, 4-3. The only one that didn't was October, early in the season, where we had a 3-2 game in overtime. Anaheim won that game. But, it's just right now with Calgary, they're feeling it right now offensively. 5.5 seems a little low, and I would dabble in the 3.5 team total as well. It wouldn't surprise me if Anaheim chips in a little bit here as well offensively in this game. And worth noting, Calgary on the back-to-back this year, they're 5-3, so a winning record, and actually 5-1 after a victory on a back-to-back. So no letdown for a team after winning the night before like they did last night against Columbus, and 4-2 to the over for Calgary on the second night of back-to-back games as well. So I'm going to do what I did kind of last night where I had a Calgary team total. I had a first period over. A great job by Chris Otto pointing out that team total in the first period on Calgary.
Yeah, great
over
call.
as well. 1.5 plus 190. And of course, I had the full game over as well last night. But tonight, we'll just go with team total over 3.5 for Calgary plus price, and also over 5.5 full game. Andrew, Ducks, Flames.
Yeah, so I'm just on the over 5.5. I think like you, we believe that, we're getting the 5.5 here. Probably, obviously, some good goaltenders on both sides, but because of Anaheim, their lack of production. I don't mean to keep patting myself on the back, but man, it feels good to see the how downwards Anaheim's gone. I mean, betting them at almost like minus 110 to miss the playoffs is looking pretty good for me right now. The way they started to just downward spiral, and their goal scoring ability has kind of gone away a little bit. But I think that they'll kind of catch Calgary off guard a little bit. Calgary 7 straight wins. Obviously, their offense has looked great. I think we get a few out of Anaheim. This game can finish easily. I think 5-2, 5-3 potentially in favor of the Calgary Flames. So I do like the Flames, but the better play for me is the over 5.5 in this one. Don't be surprised if the Ducks get some. Don't be surprised if the Ducks have a good start to this game. If there's one team that I wouldn't really be surprised to come out after a little bit of a layoff and play well, it's the Anaheim Ducks. One thing interesting, though, 8 straight losses for them against Western Conference opponents. But they have done really well against the Pacific Division this year. But I thought that was kind of interesting to mention. But yeah, I'm on the over 5.5.
Over 5.5 as well for Andrew. And Alex B. Smith was in our chat, just to reiterate it in case you're not in the chat right now or you're listening to the podcast. Best bet for Alex B. Smith is the first period over in this Anaheim-Calgary game. So that's over 1.5 in the first period here, which you can get at minus 110, pretty much even money. Anaheim-Calgary over 1.5, minus 110 first period. Best bet for Alex B. Smith here in this on this card. We got Jimmy trying to join us, but I keep seeing his window on the bottom of our studio here, and he keeps going in and out, in and out, in and out. So we'll see it, because he mentioned, though, last night when he was with us, the reception would be a little bit spotty for him. He's up in the Vermont mountains. Let's see if we can try again here. He's up in the Vermont mountains somewhere. Jimmy, can you hear us?
I can. Can you guys hear me?
There we go. We got him. Yes. I saw your screen, your window going in and out, in and out. I know you were trying to get on. You finally did. Welcome. Ah. Welcome for 2 seconds.
Oh, there we go. We got him again.
Let's go,
Jimmy.
Anaheim there. How we doing? You got me?
We got you. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say I'm going to echo everything you said about the Flames and Ducks. Give me the team total over and the Flames. Give me the over in the game, and I like that first period over as well.
All right, very good. How about Minnesota, Winnipeg?
I'm going to go with Minnesota on the money line.
And Florida, Carolina.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, guys. I know what you're saying there in terms of the over with that, but what happened with the Rangers and Bruins kind of scares me away in terms of, I kind of went into that game thinking like you did, Ian, for this game where there's going to be some rust and it could lead to some goals, whereas it was more they just depended on their goalie and they tightened things up, and I could see Florida doing that as well. So I'm going to go the other way on this game. Give me the under in this game, and also give me Carolina on the money line.
All right, Carolina, but looking under the 6.5 for Jimmy in that Carolina-Florida game. All right, we've got Jimmy all caught up now, and we will go to our final game of this card. It's a great one, of course. Colorado and Vegas, lots of history. Playoffs last year. Vegas coming back to beat Colorado and knock them out in the second round last year. We've got Colorado minus 140. Road favorites here in Vegas, total 6.5. Look at the move toward Colorado here. We were talking on the BetCast last night, and our Nicholas Earl sounded like he was going to unload on Colorado in this game from the sounds of things with how he was talking up the Avalanche in this game, saying he was going to be one of his biggest bets in a long time. But I don't know if that's played a part in the line, but yeah, Nick Earl. I don't think Nick Earl alone is moving this line, but it's just very interesting that minus 110 is what we saw last night on the BetCast when we were starting to tee up some of these games, and now we've seen this line just steadily move toward Colorado, minus 120, minus 125. By 9 a.m. Eastern, it was minus 125. And now we're seeing minus 140 with Colorado as road favorites, 6.5 the total. And when you look at the Colorado track record off a loss, you can understand why there's some support for the Avalanche here. I mean, they have not just been good. They've been stupendous. They've been phenomenal. They've been incredible off a loss. And when you look at those losses, and I made sure I mentioned this, and we looked it up on the BetCast because I was interested, we have not seen Colorado in many games this year held to 1 goal or less, right? How many times have we seen that? Not very often, where Colorado scores either gets shut out or they score just a goal in a game. We just don't see it very often. So I was fascinated after that 4-1 loss to Dallas last night. And, I knew right away that spot stunk for Colorado. And credit to those people that were actually, someone messaged me saying, Dallas, I think, could be live here because of the situation. They already beat the hell out of Dallas in Dallas on Sunday. They're playing them at home last night. They got the big showdown with Vegas tonight. You figured that maybe it wasn't the best situation for Colorado. I was just not really ready to trust Dallas to go into Denver and win, or Colorado where they're so good at home to lose. But they did last night. And give Jake Ottinger credit. Man, was he good for the Dallas Stars. Outstanding in that game. They were very good in front of him, by the way, as well, Dallas. A lot of blocked shots, a lot of good jobs clearing rebounds away. When Colorado tried to get those loose pucks in front of the net, they played well in front of him, and he was good in net. But I was interested, and we all were last night on the BetCast, how did Colorado do this season in a game after they scored either no goals or 1 goal in the previous game? Here are the results. They lost 4-1 to Florida on October 21st. The next game at Tampa Bay, they won 4-3 and scored 4 goals in that game. They lost 3-1 to Vegas at home. What did they do in their next game? Scored just 1 goal. What did they do in their next game? They beat St. Louis 4-3, and they scored 4 goals. They lost 3-1 to Dallas on the road. November 26th, another game where they scored just 0 or 1 goals, Colorado. What did they do in the next game? They beat Nashville 6-2 and scored 6 goals. This is a distinct pattern that we have seen with the Colorado Avalanche all year, essentially, scoring 0 or 1 goal in the previous game, and they've come back and they've not only won the next game, they've scored 4 goals minimum in each of those games the next time out. So for me, this is not a side. necessarily. I would lean Colorado too. You got Vegas off a long layoff. Again, just we've talked about how teams have struggled in that regard. Could even consider Colorado first period tonight as well, that even though they're on a back-to-back and third game in 4 days, that's still maybe not as bad a situation as, say, Vegas, who haven't played in forever. And for all the excitement, guys, about Jack Eichel making his debut tonight, this is a guy that hasn't played with anybody yet on this team. He's got to try to find chemistry playing with Evgeny Dodonov and Max Pacioretty on the top line. You got to develop that chemistry. Is it something that's going to be you snap your fingers and right away you've got it? I'm not so sure. He hasn't played in a very long time. He's had, multiple injury setbacks. Is it something that's going to just click right away for Eichel and for this team offensively, the Golden Knights as a whole, as a collective? We'll have to wait and see on that. You've got Janmark, Carlson, and Smith on the second line, Marchessault, Stevenson, and Nick Waugh on the third line, and Will Carrier, Brett Howden, and Nolan Patrick. If you really want bargain bin shopping for Vegas, keep an eye on Brett Howden to score a goal. This guy is suddenly, I don't know, the last few games, he has definitely been percolating and finding the back of the net for the Golden Knights. The problem is, with Eichel now back in the fold, Peter DeBoer is dropping him to a fourth line type of spot tonight in this game. And I don't like that necessarily, because this is a guy that scored 4 goals in the last 5 games for the Vegas Golden Knights for you, Brett Howden, and you're dropping him to the fourth line? I get it. You got to make room for Eichel, and there's some juggling now with Mark Stone obviously out indefinitely, but part of that is dropping Brett Howden, who scored 4 goals in the last 5 games for you, to the fourth line. It's like you're being punished for actually scoring. That's kind of what it looks like right now, which is kind of bizarre to me. So I don't like that in terms of he's going to get less minutes tonight, obviously being on the fourth line, but I think it's still worth a shot at a big plus number, Brett Howden to score for the Vegas Golden Knights tonight in this game, because again, they've scored 4 goals in the last 5 games. Cheshire Cat's right. That fourth line's been a good forechecking line for Vegas, no question. Colorado, like I say, off the loss last night. I know it's back-to-back for them. You'd expect a great effort. Laurent Brossoit, of course, will be in net because Robin Lehner is out indefinitely for the Golden Knights. It's a torn labrum injury for Robin Lehner. They're calling it upper body, but it's a torn labrum. That's what he's got. And they're trying to, basically evaluate it further, see if he needs surgery, and if he does need surgery, when is he going to get the surgery? Is he going to get it now during the season, try to be back, late playoffs or something, or is he just going to try to play through it, have the surgery in the off season? That's what they're trying to determine right now, the Vegas Golden Knights and their coaches and their training staff and all that. So no Leonard, at least tonight, and it'll be Laurent Brossoit. You'd expect Darcy Kemper in net tonight for Colorado. Francouz was in net for them last night. Like I say, I lean Colorado, lean to the full game over, but the bet I'm targeting is Colorado team total over 3.5. That's the spot. That's the bet for me. 3.5 at a plus price at most books, by the way. You can get plus 110, plus 105. That's the current price available with this Avalanche team total over 3.5. I think it gets there. I spoke of the track record. It's just flawless. When Colorado scores 1 goal or gets shut out in the previous game, in the next game, they've scored at least 4 goals in every game after scoring just 0 or 1 in the previous game. So we're going to rely on that tonight. We're going to rely on maybe Brossoit giving up a few. I know he's capable at times, but, against this Colorado team off a loss, he could be in tough tonight, trying to slow them down and shut them down and keep the puck out in that game tonight. So I like Colorado team total here, over 3.5. And like I said, very, very much like the price here with that bet, considering you can get, and if you actually shop around, there's some books that I see upwards of plus 115, plus 118 with Colorado team total over 3.5 tonight. So that's what I like most. There's a few things I was, like I say, I considered money line Colorado, considered the full game over, but I really like the team total look for the Avalanche here. Andrew, what do you think here, Colorado, Vegas?
I think just there's so many different factors that line up for an over tonight. And a lot of times when I've had that feeling, it's been for 5.5s or 6s. It's very rare. I love jumping in front of these 6.5s with a strong play, but I do like the 6.5 here over. Most importantly, when do we ever see an expected goal number versus the actual goal number as different as it was yesterday for the Avalanche, Ian. When have we ever seen? I can't remember when I've ever seen a team score one goal and their expected goal numbers were 4.2. That's like unheard of.
That's off the charts expected goals efficiency, by the way. You don't see many examples of teams that hit the 4 or higher in expected goals for a game. That
Especially when
means
they
you
actually
really
scored
had
one
grade A
goal.
chances that should have resulted 9 times out of 10 in goals. If you had those chances 10 times, you should have scored on 9 of them.
Absolutely. And especially when you ended up scoring one goal. It's one thing if you scored 3 and they said your expected goals were 4.2, but if you had one goal, I mean, I'm really happy you listed off. I was gonna say some similar stuff there about the game after for Colorado. And let's talk about some of the lines for Vegas. I like, some of the lines they've created. I feel like it's a great mix of passers, playmakers, and snipers. And I think that for a lot of times with players, when they get right into a lineup or when they come back from an injury, I tell everybody, hey, hold up for a second. Don't go player prop betting. Don't go betting on this team. But I think Eichel is going to settle right into this team. I just have that funny feeling the Vegas magic is in the air and he'll create some plays tonight, whether he's scoring or somebody else is. I think they get it done. So both these teams have talent, and just also let's not forget Vegas is off a 6-0 loss as well. So both these teams want to get back on track in their own way. And I believe both these teams probably had this game marked on their calendars. And one thing that you and I discussed about 3 years ago together, believe it or not, is that these games of high competitiveness used to mean under. Not anymore. It's like first to 4 or 5 wins in these big games now. I don't care how good your defense is or your goaltending. Big games now are not low scoring anymore. It's high scoring. It's just, team must score the last goal wins. And that's what I expect tonight.
So that's Colorado, Vegas, liking the over here. That's the 6.5. And, Andrew doesn't touch the 6.5s to the over very often, but liking this one here tonight with the Avalanche. And it's worth noting that, too. It's not like Vegas is coming in here feeling great about what they did the last time they played. Of course, they got stomped by Calgary 6-0. But they've been off for a week since then. You've got Colorado, obviously, back-to-back for them. But off their 4-1 loss and a track record. That's the thing with Colorado. The track record that I mentioned is not just that they've scored at least 4 goals after scoring 0 or 1 in the previous game. They've not only scored 4 in every game after that, but they've also won every game after that. So it's a tough track record to go against, but it's a great game. We're looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward now, due to circumstances, Kenny Albert, who's the lead play-by-play voice for TNT Hockey, he's not doing the game tonight with Eddie Olczyk and Keith Jones for TNT, Vegas and Colorado, because he's doing Olympic hockey for NBC. They got him working the Olympics. So filling in for Kenny Albert in this game is John Forsland, and it's great to hear him again doing a national game. Hey, what do you say? Great broadcaster. Done games with NBC the last few years before this year. Carolina Hurricanes television play-by-play voice for multiple decades. And, of course, starting this year in their first season in existence is now the new Seattle Kraken television play-by-play voice. Johnny Forsland will be on the mic for that game, and he's as good as it gets. And when Chris Cuthbert is saying he's one of my idols, that's what Chris Cuthbert said to me in a DM one time about John Forsland, saying he's one of his idols in broadcasting, one of his favorites. You're a good broadcaster. When Chris Cuthbert's giving you the stamp of approval, you're good. So there you go. So John Forsland doing that game tonight with Vegas and Colorado on TNT. Great game. This whole night, I just smile. You can see the smile on my face. Like, I just smile thinking of the slate tonight because it's 4 really intriguing, fun, exciting hockey games, and I can't wait to watch them.
Me too. It's one of those, like, we both love breaking down these games, handicapping, but as hockey fans, being able to, number one, find some great betting value, but number two, just kick back and enjoy these great games. It's awesome. I got to tell you guys something just on a personal note, kind of funny. Not really, I guess not that funny, but I've experimented for the first time with HelloFresh. I don't know if everybody's familiar with that, but it's like they send you the ingredients and the food to cook pretty much, and like recipes and stuff like that. And I'll tell you, Ian, it's only my second day doing it, but it is just awesome. Like not having to worry about what I want to make for dinner or like figuring out what to do. And this is like all really healthy stuff. I literally just pull out these packages, get the recipes going, and boom, right to my couch to watch some hockey. There's no thinking about it. There's no what am I gonna make? There's no going out and getting something unhealthy. I mean, it's just straight up make something healthy. I mean, I got this down to a science now, finish up my work, finish up the shows, go to the gym, come home, make one of these meals. And then we got this beautiful card tonight with the NHL. I just can't wait to watch it. And I just thought it was hilarious. We always talk about how busy the life of being a handicapper is with research, shows, and then, of course, trying to watch these games. And, especially having a girlfriend, I'm always trying to make good meals and she's making good meals and stuff. And now we're just like, hey, we just got these ingredients and recipes being mailed to us, which is pretty funny.
That's pretty good. So it's a night of hockey and Hello Fresh, apparently.
Someone's calling me lazy.
Home.
It's not lazy because I'm making the recipe still. It's not like I'm getting food ordered to me.
No, that's my route. Yeah, the lazy route. Yeah.
Are you a big Uber Eats guy?
Yeah, I don't have to. Yeah, exactly. I'm a big Uber Eats guy. I'm sure I pay hundreds of dollars every year in Uber Eats orders or skip the dishes orders or you name it. But I order quality though.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some really good small restaurants in town, and I'll get like really good meals from there, and they'll still taste good even though they're delivered because the restaurant's so close. It's like 5 minutes. It won't get cold, it won't get soggy, it won't dry up on you. It'll still taste really good. We're not just one of those guys that just goes to Ronnie McDonald all night and when
Turnsy said I'm on the McDonald's diet. I'm not doing these like every day, but I just thought it was pretty. It was my first ever experience with this, experience with this, and experimenting with it was kind of like funny because I thought it was going to be kind of like a little bit of a mess, like just showing up with all kinds of different ingredients and stuff. But they send you all kinds of different stuff, and I'll tell you, it's making me a lot more excited about tonight's card because I just get to watch hockey. Just put these the ingredients together, and all of a sudden we're there. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Your mother probably won't agree. I'll tell you what, my mother is happy that I'm eating healthy, probably, and making some great meals. So, it's
most moms are saying, hey, eat healthy, eat your greens, and all this BS you got to hear when you're a kid. So, I'm sure most of them would end up being happy that you're eating the kind of healthier meals and food that you've been making yourself lately, no doubt. You still owe me Wendy's Turnsy, or my friend calls it Spendy's, not Wendy's, because it's a little bit more expensive there, Wendy's, than some burger places. Yeah, Spendy's, yeah. But no, Wendy's is good though. I got to admit, the old-fashioned style burgers every now. You just don't want to load up because you put the pounds on quickly if you have it every day or every week. But no doubt, it's not bad. It's just a little pricier than the average burger joint, so that's why I call it Spendy's. A little bit there.
Andrew and Ian's review every day. We'll
food reviews, Ice Guys Hockey Show, betting show, and food reviews. One last thing I want to note, by the way, on the Vegas Colorado game, I'm going to sprinkle on Eichel to score. It's just one of those knee jerk things. Guys making his debut with the team. It's just something to consider here. It's Toffoli. I'm still mad that I didn't bet Toffoli because someone mentioned it yesterday.
Too.
Yeah, and
what's the price here on Eichel?
Let me just verify that before we finish up and wrap up here the show. Jack Eichel, it looks like, is all right. Let me just we'll have to take a look. I didn't have DraftKings open. That's my bad. So now we will open it up here. All right, Colorado, Vegas. Here we go. Player props. We've got Eichel at plus 200. There you go. At DraftKings.
That's a good price.
That's where the spread. He's going to be centering the top line. It's not like they're easing him in.
No.
Top line. He's going to be right there playing with Dodonov on that top line for the Vegas Golden Knights. So, jump on, plus 200. He's going to get the looks tonight. He's going to get the ice time. He's going to play on the power play. He's going to be with Pacioretty and Dodonov on the top line. There you go. Plus 225, even MDR 24 is saying you can find. So, plus 200 or greater is good value for a guy that is going to be charged up. The adrenaline's flowing tonight, making his debut, finally playing for a good team, the Vegas Golden Knights. So excited to see how he fares here in his debut. We have not seen Jack Eichel play hockey in a while. We will see how it goes for him tonight. Before we wrap up with best bets, mention DraftKings Sportsbook as always. The latest offer from DraftKings Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of the NHL and NBA, is too good to pass up. New customers can bet just $1 on any team and get $150 in free bets if they win. It's that simple. If DraftKings Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still take your shot at a big payday. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings daily fantasy basketball contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet just $1 on any NBA team and get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 years of age or older. Minimum age and location requirements vary by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for full list of requirements and state-specific responsible gaming resources. Void where prohibited. Minimum $5 deposit. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download the DraftKings app. Sign up for an account. Use the promo code THPN. Make sure you join us tomorrow. Big Thursday card, and we have special guest Danny Ehrman, former pro hockey player, on the show with us as a guest tomorrow. We're looking forward to that. 2 p.m. Eastern. Join us tomorrow for that on the Ice Guys. Right now, best bets to wrap up the Wednesday card. Andrew, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
I'll go with Flames Ducks over 5.5.
All right, Anaheim Calgary over 5.5, around even money. Best bet for Andrew on this card for this Wednesday night card. I'm going to go with that team total over 3.5 on the Colorado Avalanche. It's just a great number. It's a great price. You're talking, the rarity it is to get a 100% perfect betting angle on a season, which this is. Colorado off a 0 or 1 goal performance, scoring 4 goals in their next game every time this year. Being able to get a 100% betting angle on your side and getting a plus 115 to plus 118 price in some spots on an over 3.5 team total, when there's a 100% angle pointing you in the direction of a team that has scored at least 4 goals in every game after 1 goal or less the previous game. That's great odds. That's great math in your favor. That's great percentages in your favor. And that is a positive expectation bet if I've ever seen one. Colorado Avalanche team total over 3.5 plus 115. That is going to be my best bet here tonight for this Wednesday NHL card. And that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. We appreciate it. Hit the like button on the way out. It definitely helps us out. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. And yes, KP, thank you for mentioning that. 4 NHL games tonight, a great slate, and a huge women's hockey gold medal game. USA and Canada, the rivalry renewed. It's always those two teams battling it out for gold. They'll do it one more time tonight. It should be exciting. It's always a great game with the U.S. and Canadian women going head-to-head. They don't like each other. There should be some physicality as well. It's going to be a great game, and that's at the end of the night as well. So keep an eye on that. Actually, I think
what a night it's going to be tonight.
Yeah, as Vegas, Colorado is going, I think that is when that game will be starting. So definitely be keeping a close eye on that, as well as the U.S. and Canadian women's hockey teams renew their rivalry and go for gold in Beijing tonight. Looking forward to that. For Andrew McInnis, I'm Ian Cameron, and thanks to Jimmy Murphy for joining us as well briefly. His reception was in and out, but he tried to make it on for a couple of minutes. We appreciate it. Thanks to Jimmy for that as well. We will be back with you tomorrow. Thanks. Enjoy the games and good luck. Thanks for watching. Have a great Wednesday night, and we will talk to you again tomorrow on Thursday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.